Um, there, you guys should be able to hear me now. Out there, YouTube and Facebook. How's everybody doing tonight? Um, I'm going to. Oh, the only thing I didn't set up was my chat screen and my participant screen, so I can see what's going on by everybody. Um, the class tonight that we're going to do is actually a follow up on something we did back in 2019, and we talked about it, but we've never we started working through it a couple weeks ago when we did the layout tab. A couple weeks, I should say, about 2 months ago. But the, uh, the challenge with doing anything in the layout tab, and let me go ahead and switch over before I begin. The challenge with doing anything in the layout tab basically has to do with the sheer amount of stuff that is there and the options. So there is no way that I can go through the layout tab in 2 hours in complete, utter detail. It's impossible. So I want to begin going through some of the options in xLights, and I know I'm not going to hit them all tonight, and I'm going to try to keep this, I don't want to say short, but at the same time, I don't want to go on for an hour, because I think the lesson is that we all tend to get caught up in learning way too much, and then you take nothing away from it. So I want to break this up into two sections. Our next PPD webinar is going to be a continuation of part 2 of this, and it'll just make it a little easier. So if you're building your layout, or if you're new to the hobby, this is really fresh content. This is 2025 April or May of 2025. It's 20th of May. We're rolling up on the end of the month, and we really want to get some good, fresh, current content out there. One thing before we begin that I want to invite everybody who is watching, who is listening, if you are an avid xLights user and you enjoy sequencing and you do things that are fun and programming, and you enjoy doing the programming side of xLights as far as making the lights twinkle and do crazy stuff, what I'd like you to do is consider joining the PPD sequence team. We are bringing on new sequencers, and we are looking for people who want to have some fun and learn and become better at what they do so they can create their own creations, but also work with the people that in the community who have asked us to do different jobs. We have a number of commercial and residential projects coming up, and I certainly could use some help. So if you are interested and you'd like more information, or you'd like this just chat with me, send me an email, Clyde@pixelprodisplays.com. Kind of easy, Clyde@pixelprodisplays.com. And I just want to get to it right now. Let's get YouTube up here, and you should be all set. And you can see my screen. So I have nothing fancy here. We have a very basic layout, and the layout's not the exciting thing. The exciting thing is xLights and what it can do. So what I want to start with is I just want to start with selecting some models. It doesn't matter what models I'm selecting, but I want to bring the right-click menu up, and the right-click menu is in itself a complete work of art as far as what it can do. There are so many things in here, and this is why it's really hard to set everything up exactly the way that it needs to be for your layout unless you understand what all of these functions are. So we're going to try to go through a number of these things, and again, like I said, I'm not going to get to everything in here, but I want to go through the important things. So the first thing I want to talk about is bulk editing. So, and what do all of these different things under the bulk edit tab, and there are different bulk edits in here as well, so keep that in mind. But the main bulk edits that you see here is active, inactive, controller name, tag, tag color, pixel size, pixel style, transparency, black transparency, and shadow model 4. We're going to start with these, and I'm going to try to explain them as best as I can. Some of them I can't explain because they're new, and I really couldn't figure out their functionality. So if we have one of the developers in here, maybe they can throw some hints to me in the chat. I'll keep my eye open, and I will share them as I learn them right along with you. So under the bulk edit tab, here on the right click menu, we have active. What we can do is we can have certain models in our show that that we want to be there, that we want to be part of our show. But then when the end of the season comes and we look at our layout and we say, oh, I want to change next year's layout. Maybe I want to do something completely different. Maybe I want to do download a new model from somewhere. We'll just grab one. We'll just grab this frozen snowman. It doesn't matter. Okay. And I grab my snowman. I want my snowman to take the place. This is a high density snowman, right? We want it to take the place of this prop here. We want to put him right here. This is what we want to do, but I don't have room for this thing this year or next year. So what you can do is you can select the model, right click. If you have multiples of them selected, if there's multiples that you want to get rid of, you can multiple and select, and you can right click, bulk edit, and active. These are active on your screen. You can inactivate or deactivate them. So now where do they go? What's going on? Notice over here on the left-hand side, we can make this a little bit wider of the column here. You can see that these two models here have these little kind of brackets, the greater than, less than sign. And if we click on them and we select multiples of them, and I can hold the control key down, I think Command on Mac, and click on them individually. And you can scroll up the rest of the way, and we can look for the other one. I think there should be one more. Where is it at? Stocking Starflake vertical. It was a vertical. Or maybe, I don't know. There. Oh, right there. So there, and there. It was hiding underneath of the thing. So if the developer's watching, can we have a timeout for this adjusted? This kind of hangs out at the worst times for the tooltip. Anyway, so you see the brackets there. What we'll do is we'll right click and we can bulk edit. Notice the bulk edit's down over here instead of over here. It's at a different location. Here we can bulk edit and we can activate these. Let's say it's 2 years down the road. You've taken them out of your show. They're completely gone. But now you're going to put them back in. You didn't lose the models. You didn't have to export them. You didn't have to put them somewhere else. You can bulk edit and make them active once again. And it'll put them back into where they were before. You are pretty much set up there to manage your layout. Managing your layout is kind of confusing because in the past, the way that I had suggested to manage your layout would be to, at the end of the season, make a copy of your RGBFX file. I still recommend doing this, but take a copy of your RGBFX file and and your network file and throw that into a folder and archive it. Call it an archive. You'll never go into it again unless you need to revert back to something that you've done in the past, and that can be quite helpful if you take the time to do that. But also at the same time, after so many years, some of those reversions, they become more and more obsolete, so you end up not needing them from, let's say, 7 years ago, like Rob always likes to tell me. So there is your inactive and your active functions. Really nice function to have. Let's go back over here and get into the bulk edit menu again. And let's look at this. We have something called controller name. We can now go in and we can assign our props to a specific controller. We can deactivate them from controller, and we can say, don't put these on a controller. And so this is a really nice function. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, I brought this snowman in, let me go over here to the controller and let me set this up here because I got to go into visualize and I got to go remove all these because we're moving this around. Now what you can do is you can just, let's say there's all the spiral trees and stuff. We can right click and we can remove, let me grab the little stars too, because I think those are on there. Let's look at that. Visualize. So the spiral star, spiral tree. Okay, so there we go. So you see them there. We can go in, and I'm just click and holding the control key and multi-selecting. Bulk edit. and controller name, and we can do no controller. And now if we go back in, notice how those four props no longer have the Culp controller label. And if we go into the Culp controller, you can visualize here that now they don't appear there. And now if you need to begin arranging your rearranging things, it's a faster way to go in and do that without having to go into the controller tab. You can do some of this now from the layout tab. So that's kind of nice. Let's do again another bulk edit. We've done the top ones there. What's tag color? So give me a second here. I might be able to pull up tag color on another xLights layout that I have, maybe. Master view. It's not on this. I have to get out of the Halloween layout. Give me a second here. File close. I should have this ready. Go back into the Pro, select folder, and this will just take a second. There we go. Okay, let's do new sequence. We're actually into the Pro layout here. So a tag color, and I've done a video. I've done a Twinkle Tip Friday video on this before, and what tag colors are that's the little square you see on the left hand side. So if you're looking at this, there's a couple different ways that you can see this from. The left hand side is the tag color. If you see one over here, I think that's that stands for an AC channel of some sort. I might be able to show you that with let's see, new master. Oh, I don't have the moving heads in here. I can't show you. Okay, but anyway, you get the idea that these colors here, these are tag colors. And so one of the videos that I went into quite some detail, and you can learn more about that by going to the PPD website and looking for tag colors. Go to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go look for the video on tag colors. It's a way to visually look at something and say, hey, these are grouped together a certain way. And so what I did was I use a dark color for my major groups, and I use the lighter version of a color for a submodel that's in that group, and I put the main group above in the master view. I put the main group above the submodels, and that's how I set up all of my props in my show. This is how our Pro layout's been set up for, good Lord, 7 years, 6 years, I'd say. We finally nailed it down after about 6 years. But notice how this snowflake, there's a snowflake group, then there's a large snowflake, and it's a lighter color. It's not quite lighter, but these snowflakes happen to be in this big group. But then you just have two big snowflakes in one group, and then below that you have the submodels. And so whenever you're sequencing, if you happen to be at the Oklahoma Mini, I did a class on Saturday on layering effects. It was actually a really good class. It's kind of on this whole take, and then just being able to physically look at the colors and say, hey, the dark color is my main group, the lighter colors down below are a subgroup, and then a submodel group down below it. And here, see the spinners and spinner submodels are down below it. And that's what a tag color is. Before they added that functionality, you had to manually add these tag colors to the group right here. Right here, as you can see, is where your tag colors are. So if you wanted to bulk edit a number of these, let's see, so this is the GE Fusion. These are all submodels. This, except for this one here, this is a GE Fusion. I would use this dark blue here as my main group, and then if I went to these ones here, I would right click, bulk edit, tag color, and I would say this is a submodel group, so it's a light blue. So now if we go in and we do a new sequence, animation done, you can see now here that we can easily identify, hey, if I need to make a new view in this layout, this is why I love tag colors. You can easily say, hey, here's the master view. If you create a new master view, we can we can clone this. We'll go ahead and clone it. New master. And down here, and we can see GE Fusion Group there. We'll put it at the top of that list and see how now it's at the top of that list. And this is one visual way that you can go in and take the time to set up your display elements. So for all the folks who are watching who wonder why would you use a tag color, this is why I use a tag color. I can visually tell if my layout is in the proper master order, dependent on kind of what that's useful for. And I only sequence in groups, so that makes it super easy for me to identify things. Love the bulk edit function. That wasn't there 2 years ago. That's something new. So bulk edit, go back in here, we'll pick up a couple more models. We have pixel size and pixel style. Okay, one of the things that most people don't know about xLights is that these pixels that you see on the screen, these individual dots, there is a physical size to them. So if you want to see them be a little bit more vibrant, what you need to do is you need to kick them up a size. And in the model, whenever you select a model, you have an appearance that you can go to. xLights default is automatically set to 2. But if you watch the video, or watch the preview, watch the preview of your house in the house preview screen, your preview is going to look beautiful. The downside to having a pixel size 2, the downside is that whenever you export the video to share it with other people so that they can see it, it doesn't show up very well. So we learned over time that, hey, if I come in and I bulk edit all of my props to be right-click, bulk edit, pixel size number 3. There's some of these are 4 because they're small. I think I did the mini tree stars with a little bit larger. But we baked that into the sequence because, or we baked that into the layout because looking at the preview video when we'd export the video to put a new sequence in the store, it didn't look very good. It was very dim. So we learned this kind of the hard way, or the long way, or I don't know, however you want to say that. But that functionality of being able to bulk edit anything all at once. Now, I will tell you that one of the things that is helpful is, notice that we have these floodlights here in the Pro layout. This is something I end up having to do, and I think there might be a bug in xLights. I'm not complaining, because it only takes a second. Notice how I have a group selected, and I right-click, and there's no bulk edit because I don't have more than one selected. If I select these, oh wait, I have faces, not floods. There we go. Notice though that these floods here are kind of fuzzy. They're not exactly the same nice, perfectly round little dot that is considered a pixel, and that's because of 2 reasons. One is we blew them up in size. So if and it's hard to get a hold of these things because we have them in a precarious place. There we go. If we look at the pixel size, we've changed the pixel size from like 2 or 3 to 110. Now, here's the challenge. Sometimes, whenever I'm transferring the sequence from one layout to another, or I'm changing layouts, sometimes the floodlights, whenever I have them set up this way, where it's just a regular pixel, it's not set up as a DMX fixture, it's just set up as a individual single strand. Each one of these is a single strand, it's a single pixel. It's one string, one node, that's it. And so with that being said, when you click on the group, they weren't, they were coming in smaller. And so when you were sequencing, you didn't see them flashing or moving or doing anything. And so what I ended up having to do was I ended up having to right click bulk edit. And I had to change the pixel size. And even though it was still 110, I'd kick it up to 111, and it would make it just poof. It would bring them back up to the right size. It's a little bug. It takes a second for me to do that. But notice that I just did a bulk edit on a group, but I wasn't pointing at the group. I was pointing at the screen. So you can have a group selected. You could have a complete group selected. Right click. There's only one thing in this group, so it's not going to do anything. But if I have, let's say, the faces, should do the same thing. Right click, bulk edit. So your bulk edit menu works off of selecting one group, but you have multiple props selected in the layout. So that's one thing. Now the other thing about the floodlights, as you can see here, there we go. the other thing is that we are not using what the standard prop is using. Most of the standard props use a pixel style called smooth. This is the default. xLights defaults to smooth. Whereas if you change this to blended circle, look what happens. It blends the circles. So fades the circles out. It gives them a bright center and a faded edge. And so now if you run effects over this, it may not be as bright. It won't be, it will tend to disappear. So, you can see the difference whenever you say smooth versus having the blended circle for the floodlight. So that's one of the reasons we use these. And so if you were in your layout creating kind of the same exact thing, you could do the exact same thing by putting one model in here. And I'm sure there's always 100 different ways to do things in xLights. This is just one way. There's your 1 pixel. If you come down to your, well, we can copy this. Whoops. Control C, Control V. I'm just using my keyboard for that. And what if I do it again? Control V. There's 3 of them. Now I have them bulk selected. Now I can right click, bulk edit, and I can change them to the pixel size that I want them to be, which is, let's say, 100. Now notice that isn't very useful as a floodlight. Those don't appear to be, and they're not easy to grab, but it is what it is, right? Okay. Now you can bulk edit and change the pixel style as well. So you can go to blended circle, and now they look more like a quote-unquote floodlight. It looks good. And this is super easy. You can put these on any output that you need to put them on, even though they're on an individual string. You could do this with a polyline. If you have a floodlight here, a floodlight here, and a floodlight here, you can set that as where those locations are, and it's easy. You just click on the polyline, and you don't have to use the bulk edit. But this is just one application. Now, if we wanted to change the size, we'll show you the rest of these. We'll do pixel style, solid circle. You already seen. Let's do smooth. That's what smooth looks like. Let's bulk edit again, pixel style, and we'll do square, and that's what a square pixel looks like. I know, not the most exciting stuff, but I mean, it's there as an option, something that you might be interested in using. Robert and I have used the squares to indicate on the screen that it's an AC prop, or we've also used pictures. That does a good job too. So there you go. A couple options there whenever it comes to bulk editing, pixel size, and pixel style. Transparency and black transparency. Not even going to lie. These are new, and I don't know what they exactly are used for. If Robert knows, maybe he knows something. But I really can't imagine what they're used for other than, transparency, let's say 100. Oh, look, they disappeared. But they're still there. One of them's still there. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't look like it highlights them whenever you have them all set that way. So bulk edit. Maybe that's to allow other things behind it to show through. So maybe that's 75. So that's probably what it's for. Let's go into black transparency. I really have no idea what this is for. We probably have to have something else going on here. I don't know. Let's do 75 and see what happens. What happens whenever this is over top of it? So you can see through that. That might be, maybe that's the intended purpose for doing that. So we'll go ahead. I'll just go ahead and get rid of these since we're good with those. Okay. Let's go back in. Bulk edit. Shadow model 4. So a few years ago, one of the most popular videos that I put out was on customizing the outputs so that you could connect different pixel string length sizes to different outputs. And there are a number of reasons why you might need to do this, because you have a custom model that you're wiring a very specific way. And if you are, one of those reasons might be that you're trying to run one prop from 2 controllers. So let's say you have a mega tree that you're going to run off of 2 16-port controllers. I know there's 32 port controllers out there, but Joe has two 16 port controllers, and he's going to run a 32 string mega tree off of two 16 port controllers. So what does Joe have to do? Well, Joe has to do one big tree, but then he has to go in and make some shadow models. And I've done a video on this, but the ability to create, if we were creating an upload to the controller from this situation, and there's a little bit, it's more entailed to this than that. You can watch the video on what I did, and because I'm not getting into that today. But you could create, for example, here's your tree, and you wanted to create a submodel of this tree. This is a, well, we're going to call this a 32 by 100. 32 by 100 and 0. 1. There we go. So this is a 32 by 100 tree. If we were going to run this with if this were a specialty tree and you were going to use, let's say, just for game's sake, we could use just a matrix here. We'd call this a vertical matrix, and this would be 16 by 100, and that should be, this is 32 by 100. So you would use this, copy, and Control V, paste. So here's your shadow models. These are going to get, this is going to go controller 1, this is going to go controller 2, and this is going to be controller 1 and controller 2. You can right click, you could select these, right click, bulk edit, shadow model 4, and I would venture to say this is called the mega tree. Boom. And now that's been over here set up as, hopefully, yes, right there where you can see it says shadow model for mega tree. So that kind of helps. This would get assigned to your output. This would not get assigned to an output, but you'd sequence on this, and the effects would get transposed onto these, and this would be how you get the upload to work to the controller. So very confusing, very complicated, but that's how you can quickly create and assign a shadow model to two shadow models to one prop if you're uploading that way. All right. Good information so far. What do you guys think? Okay, next we'll go with, and any questions by chance, go ahead and throw them in chat. I don't see anything on YouTube, and I don't see anything in the room so far, so we'll just keep going. Well, let's look at bulk edit, and we'll come down here, controller port, and increment, controller protocol, preview, and dimming curves. I just saw a thumbs up over in YouTube. All right. So controller port. We now have the ability to begin assigning a protocol to each one of these props, bulk editing it wise. And we can say, let's say this is a little bit better way to do this. Maybe we have this mini tree and this mini tree star, and we right click and we bulk edit and we say assign controller and controller port, and we say it's port 8, and in this instance it's already kind of pre-assigned. We could assign it to this port, and if we click OK, it will go and put it here. Now over here in the layout tab, I don't have this exactly set up so I can show you absolutely everything, but you can see it goes in and it easily adds these things in for you. You don't have to think about it now. Like, you don't have to, oh, I just added these, so now I'm going to come over here and click and drag them over. You can do this now easily from a right-click menu in the Layout tab using the bulk edit. So those functions, bulk edit, again, are controller port, the controller port increment. So, for example, if a controller port increment would be something, if you're incrementally going up. So here's Snowflake 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me get rid of Frosty here, and we'll see. We'll just see. We'll see if it works. Right click, bulk edit. Controller port increment. So it has port 11. Let's see. port 11. Which controller was that on again? On the culp. Okay. Visualize. Port 11. Snowflake 2, Snowflake 2-prong 1, Snowflake 2-prong 2, Snowflake 2-prong 3, and Snowflake 3-prong 2, number 2. So there's your 3, and it magically went there, even though, see how this says the mega tree was already on 13? Don't worry about that. We forced it to do that, so it incrementally did that dependent on where it was. So what I should have done was I should have put it on port 10. We'll go back and do that. We'll come back and look. That way it doesn't look so stupid. Right click, bulk edit, port increment. Let's go back, change this to 10. Now go back into the controller, visualize, and Snowflake 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, so put it at the end of the first string is what it did. I don't have 4 unused ports, so I'm not going to be able to show you. What I could do is I could remove these, and I could do it with the arches, because the arches, there's only 4 arches, and we can do that. So we'll close that, go back to the arches. And I'm just click dragging and selecting, right click, bulk edit, controller port and increment. We have it set up for 9. These are all 4 on 9. Let's just say we're going to put them incrementally on 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now it should be clean, basically. And that's there we go. So 9, 10, 11, and 12, arch, 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 arch. There you go. So now you can assign props from the layout tab. Really, really, really quick, really easy. This is super easy if you already have a controller. If you've gone back through and you've considered some of the things, let me start over. If you're new to the hobby and you don't know where you're placing your controllers, this is why you need to know where your physical controllers are going to go sit. Because if you know that I'm putting a controller right here at the mega tree, and you know what you called it, you know what the name of it is or the IP address number it is or whatever, as long as you know, you can right click, and from this menu you can bulk edit and you can begin assigning them to the ports. Now controller protocol, that's kind of the standard is 2811. If you're using something different, and this might be some of the strips, if you're using strips, you can come in here, and xLights has a bunch of them. The only downside to being able to assign it here is if your controller that you're using doesn't support the pixel protocol for the upload. In other words, you can't upload that to that controller. If your controller doesn't, now, it's 2025. You're generally using a Falcon, a Culp controller, or you're using something from David Peace from the Experience Lights controllers, the Genius boards. Most of that's going to be already pre-set up for you, and so you're not going to have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and get out of that. Let's do some more. So let's see. Right click, bulk edit, and preview. Preview. What would preview mean? So in xLights, we have something called a preview, and the previews are used to set up different scenes if you are doing different layouts. That was the original idea behind the preview screen, was to have different holidays that you might do, like Halloween and Christmas, and it really wasn't exactly set up easily do that. And we now have our resident expert in the room, Barry. Barry is with he might be here, and he uses the new function that's in xLights for base layout, base folder, and that kind of solved the issues that some people were having trying to run multiple shows. But the previews, if you run multiple previews, let's say before 3D, what some people would do is they would take a picture of one side of their house and they'd put that on one preview, and then they'd take a picture of the front of the house and put that in another preview, and they would do that for all of their previews. So, and you can do that. So if you come up here, you can create a new preview. You can call it whatever you want. Call it side preview. And now you have a picture of the side of your house, and you begin going through the process of adding in your models and coming down here, and I'm putting my tree in, and I've got my wreath, and I've got my arches. So you begin building your layout, and now you have multiple previews that you can either go in and you can bulk edit which previews they're going to be in. So if we go back into our default and we I had the arch selected and I changed layouts. Okay, let's say we don't want this here. Well, Control C, Control V. We got two of them there, so we need two. Right click, bulk edit, preview, and now we can go assign it to the side layout, and we'll go work on it there. You could basically, if you had multiple of the same props on this side, you might copy and paste them, duplicate them. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, and now these little guys, those are going to go on the side of the house. So you can go bulk edit, preview, and put it on the side. And now whenever you, did I do that right? Bulk edit, preview, side. Okay. Maybe there's a bug there. I don't know. But you can also, it even says this, because we're in the default. But why wouldn't it do that for the arches? Maybe it was because the others were created, and that's why we're in the default. So there they are. They are in the side. If something's created here, it doesn't automatically go back to the default. It stays where it's at. Unless you go to the all models, and then that'll bring everything to one screen. So there's a little bit of the preview drop down. We never talk about that, but it's there. Anyway, let's go back into the bulk edit menu and look at the last thing, dimming curves. So I'm not a perfect expert at changing my dimming curves. I've never actually done a lot of dimming curve changes before. But I hesitate to say this, but in the old days of xLights, when controllers did not have a brightness control, this is how you would change the brightness of the output from xLights to your props. And so you can bulk edit. Well, you actually used to do it one at a time. You have a dimming curve function over here, and doing these one at a time, what we would do is obviously we'd set them at 70% or -70 brightness. And that would run it at 30% brightness, or -70 would be like 30% brightness. And so we would manually do this for all of them. And now that's not necessary. You can bulk edit and you can change your dimming curves to whatever it is that you want. Now, we don't do this anymore. We deal with brightness a whole different way, so I highly recommend do not do that. What this is really good for is changing your gamma. So if you have Halloween shows and you want to see brighter oranges, more crisp ambers, yellows, and more clear, more precise purples, many people will go in and they'll change their gamma settings. And I feel like I don't know that anybody, if you want to share in chat, let me know what you set your gammas to, and I'll share that with people on the screen. But in general, what I used to do was I would stand out in the show whenever I did mess around with the gamma. I think I set it to 2 and I just forget it. But there are some people that are very precise. They set all their gammas to a certain brightness or setting for gamma, or they're individually set. And once they're set this way, then it's rendered in the sequence and baked into the sequence. So that's definitely a nice addition, as opposed to individually going through and looking at the individual dimming curves on every single one of these to get to your gamma. Bulk edit. Bulk edit is huge in the layout tab. Not gonna lie, there's a ton to go through. I've already done a video on many of the functionalities in xLights on the layout tab, on the align, the distribute, and the resize. I don't want to beat that dead horse. So if you want to learn more, there is a video that we talk about align, distribute, and resize. You can search for that on the PPD YouTube channel. It's also on the PPD website. We did that within the past year, I would say. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. But as far as content, that's all I want to get into tonight. There's a whole lot more on this right-click menu, and I don't want to get everything lost, but there's a lot to go through, just even going through the bulk edits. So, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in chat. I see that Derek said he sets gamma for 2.4 on his PPD wreath and 2.0 on less dense props. Barry says that 2.0 is a great start for the dimming curves. Joe said, if you highlight the prop and you right-click to get the bulk edit, how do you get that back if edit doesn't display? Joe, can you be more specific? Give me a little more information to your question there. I'll go back through and look at it. Sherry said, yeah, I didn't know to select the blend circle on my floods. I added. So there you go, Sherry. Those blended circles will look really good. They always do. You have to blow them up though. They're not like these little floods down here. They look great whenever you have them running in the show or running in the layout in the preview tab. The only thing is that you definitely have to come down here and change the string properties or the appearance to make sure that you can see them. Otherwise, they don't show up very well in the preview. But guys, that's everything I have. Robert, you want to bring anything up? We'll definitely be out and about coming up in the next few months. There are a couple minis coming up in 2 weeks, I think we're 2 weeks away from the Indiana mini and I think Michigan. So by all means, I hope we get to see some of you guys there. I know that, there's a lot of them. New York, Bobby would be here. We'll get into that when we get into the open mic night session right after this. So if you like the video, please give us a huge thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, please jump into the Zoom room. We're going to open it up to questions here. And if you're on YouTube, huge thank you to Preaching Pixels for being out there running. He said he's running his first Halloween show this year. Thanks. This will be helpful. Been doing Christmas for 4 years. Does West Coast have any big pixel or big expos? Well, the West Coast does have big pixels, and that's from Miner. He has a giant. You think the really big lights are big? He has the big. I mean, they're bigger than me. But the West Coast does have a big get together. Generally, it's the California, the SoCal Mini, and then I think Northern California does their own. I think that the Northwest Christmas Light Addiction people, they call it the Northwest Clap. They just had theirs 2 weeks ago, I think. So I don't know when they are. I wish if somebody could, you're in NorCal. Yeah, if somebody knows, then by all means, feel free to share. SoCal just happened, Bobby said. So that would have been the big one. So, all right, guys, that's everything for me. Robert, do you have anything, sir? I don't think so. Okay, guys, we're going to end it here. Have a great evening, and thank you for joining us as always. Hope you like the stuff we do. If you do, consider joining the PPD Sequence Club. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening. Take care, and goodbye for now.